Hey guys, welcome back to Digital Artcast. Thank you again for joining us for another episode. Again, with the current lockdown status and the way the world is at the moment, hope you guys are keeping sane with any projects that you're working on or anything that's keeping you busy. Another episode coming to you thick and fast from the last one, and today we have a returning guest, someone that we've had on before, and we thought we would catch up with him and see how the last couple of years has treated him. So if you guys can welcome him along, today's guest, Mr. Mark Molnar. Hey Mark.
Hey guys.
Hey. Different format this time. We're trying out the new video feature on Zencastr, so and Mark was saying that he quite likes looking at someone when he's speaking to them, so we thought we'd give it a shot.
Actually it's always better because now the past 1 year I had to be on a hell of a lot of meetings, and it's really it's quite annoying when you only see like only the icons of
the
people
dots moving
and the dots, and you don't see people's faces. So I really much more prefer to actually like talk
see someone
to actually people and see someone is different. Just because it's especially if you're in a group meeting. Just from the facial expression of different people, you can pick out certain stuff and like for example they have something to say or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've noticed with the audio only version, it's like you do have these moments. It's different with me because I'm usually talking one-on-one. But if there's a group of people, sometimes you find you're talking over people, or people are like, no, you're trying to find your gap to like jump in and speak to somebody. So it's definitely better like this. I think I'll probably do more like this. I mean, you guys can let me know in the comments below if you want to do the more kind of, if you want to see my face more basically, which I don't think you want a bit. But yeah, I've said to Mark, but for the guys who don't know, I'm wearing these glasses because the sun at the moment in Scotland for some reason has chosen to be in my face. So I'm trying to put them on so I can actually see the monitor. So
the sun is Scotland.
Yeah, I know. Like it's so crazy. Like I can't. The times you don't want it to be sunny, it is, and then the times you want it to be sunny, it's pouring with rain. So you just can't win. And this is 2 days after we've had snow, like 2 feet of snow piling through. And then there's this whole thing in America just now. Like I've been sitting on Facebook and people be like these rolling. I saw Carlo Ortiz was posting stuff about these rolling power outages, and I was like, what is happening across America? Jesus Christ, so many people were affected. So yeah, the world's in a bit of shock at the moment. So. Well, we'll get there. Hopefully Hungary's it's experiencing a dry peak. Or have you guys had snow or bad weather recently? Or?
Yeah, we had some really crazy weather in the past like couple of weeks. So one day we had like 15 degrees, and like 2 days after we have like 15 in the minus. So it's like more this weird. We have these weird peaks. Instead of like just a normal winter, what we usually have.
Normal weather, you don't get like the 4 seasons. It's like, especially I think in Europe as well. It's like in Eastern Europe, it's the cold is usually the thing you've got to worry about the most, but then depends on where you are. But yeah, hopefully we'll slug through and hopefully we're okay as artists because we get to sit inside on most of the times. It's definitely something I don't miss about my old job is going outside in the piss and rain. So again, another fact that people don't know, we interviewed Mark in 2017 when he was just about to have his first kid. And now his kid is turning 3 or is 3.
It's crazy that, it was like more than 3.5 years ago, because now my little dude is like 3.5. So that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. I mean, like even it's one of these things where, I mean, no comparison, of course, because we just got a puppy before Christmas. We have a German Shepherd, and seeing her go from like this thing I could hold in my hands to like now she's like the length of me almost. It's like, and that's only a couple of weeks. I mean, with years past, you just start seeing. Oh, I remember when he couldn't walk and couldn't talk, and now he's doing both of those things. Like so that's good. A future artist in the making. Do you think, Mark, one day you're going to be training them in the ways of concept art? Buy him his first baby Wacom, like my first Wacom and stuff like that. There's going to be a product for it. But then a lot of things have also happened in the last 3 years apart from your kid growing up. Pixeloid merged with Axis and have kind of been doing there's technical behind it. I'll let you get into it. So
yeah, I wouldn't say merge, but we worked quite a lot with Axis Studios in the past like year or so. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've done a lot of work with them. And then, of course, your team's probably expanded as well. You've worked on multiple now TV shows, movies, pitch for stuff. I mean, it seems, I think, when you're doing every day, you're going in and you're taking emails and you're taking meetings, but then when you stand and look back about everything you've worked on, it must seem crazy to think, when you were just yourself, right? You were just a concept artist on your own, and then of course now you have a team, now you have responsibilities, now you're working these massive
basically
projects.
how we started Pixelated was quite interesting, because I started with one of my really good friends back from uni, and he was a freelance art director at that time, and we were just basically we were receiving more and more work, and we just figured the next logical step would be to join our forces and form a company. So we just basically started, the two of us, and the whole idea was to slowly transition from being a freelancer to doing this studio, and now it's like, I think the peak was like the 10 or 12 of us. Now we have like 8 artists in house. And we also work with project specific freelancers, and we completed, like, I don't know, more than 20 like big budget projects in the past like 4 or 5 years. Plus a lot of like illustration work and smaller projects as well. So it's really going well. And the funniest thing was, for us, I mean, to be honest, we were really scared shit about COVID, because like because the majority of our work was done for TV shows and movies, like about 70%, and basically all the productions basically stopped, all the shooting stopped, and everything. So we're really afraid what's going to happen. But interestingly enough, I think last year was one of the busiest year for us. So it was
right.
It was really funny to see that, because it was probably because we were also doing stuff for games and animation, and so the movies went down a bit, but also in the other hand, like animation and more like full on CG productions went up. And the other thing what we also experienced is, although a lot of productions stopped shooting, but a lot of productions went more to, okay, now we have this extra time to spend on pre-production. And because we are mainly on the pre-production or pre-production side of the whole things, and the design part, it was really good for us. So
yeah. So is that, I mean, your role probably has changed vastly over the last couple of years as well. So are you, like, is running the studio like full time more your kind of job now, or do you still art direct? Are you still directing in most projects, or?
Well, I'm still sort of an art director, but I'm still trying to do as much hands-on work as I can, because I started as an artist, and I still consider myself as an artist, and that's what I enjoy the most. I mean, art directing and overseeing the art side and the visual side of a bigger project is also rewarding, of course, but it's just not the same as actually creating something. Yeah.
I think it's the pitfall of running your own companies or building something, is that the bigger it gets or the more you take on, is you find your role changing rapidly to actually being involved to just running the business. I mean,
there are definitely a lot of additional tasks what you have to do, like I don't know, creating Excel sheets and schedules,
taxes and stuff,
contracts,
and business expenses,
and So, but basically, what we're trying to do is like we don't really want to grow like insanely big, but more like keeping it small and manageable, and rather raise the bar in terms of quality and not quantity.
Yeah, so you don't want to be taking on like 20, 30 projects a year, just like 3 or 4 that are really honing in.
So basically, we fall into that about probably like 2 years ago, when we just took on more projects, and we really felt that or quality is just dropping. And we also actually lost a client because of that, and that was like a wake up call for us. And then we said, okay, look guys, this has to stop. We have to just restructure our approach to how we take on projects and what projects we take on and stuff like that. And I don't know who said it, but some much smarter guy than me, that quality is the best business plan. And that's what we are aiming for, basically. So we're trying to take on as much as we can handle, and with the quality what we expect from ourselves. So
yeah, I mean, you also want to think about the mental health of your employees as well, and you, of course, you know. And
definitely.
You've got a young family, you've got a wife. You know, you want to also have time for them. So
though on the other hand, we established kind of a daily routine. What is a bit different than what film productions do, because usually in movies you expect it to work the same hours as the production crew. What is usually between 10 to 12 hours. That's like a work day plus travel and stuff. And to be honest, we don't really believe in these insane work hours, because you just I mean, I understand from the production point of view. I mean, like build the set building crews and stuff, because everything has to go on a steady base. But you just can't do creative work for 12 hours a day. And and that's what we, and plus most of our teammates have kids and families, and we would like to respect that. So we don't really do overtime. That's a main rule. I mean, we have done some, but I think I can count on one hand how many days we have done overtime in the past year or so, and we never work on weekends. So we try to respect the work and private life balance of our teammates. I think that's really important.
Yeah, I mean, it was the same when I was at Axis, and I think that's why people wanted to go back and work there so often, was that they had a very good structure of, you know, like working kind of 10 till 6 and no weekends and no overtime. And it was people with families who were there mostly because they just enjoyed the fact that they got to see their kids or drop them off in the morning. So I think, and if you happy workers make better work, right? That's
absolutely. And you are. I mean, I want my teammates to be fresh and energized instead of. I mean, we can probably do like a big push of like 2-3 months of working insanely long hours and stuff, but after that, I would just lose the team, and so there's no point doing that.
Yeah, you've got to think long term. I mean, it's definitely. I mean, it's such a massive topic. We could talk a whole hour about it, about, you know, the games industry and crunch and things that are going on overseas and even in parts of Europe. I mean, I know Seri Projekt has been, you know, in the news the last couple of years about this whole thing, and it just, I think it's something you can't escape. But I think it's also, when you try to remember and talk to students, I tell them that, you know, the games industry is not like the film industry in the fact that it's only been born for the last 40 years, you know, so like a lot of it is still getting figured out, and, you know, we're still coming from a lot of 90s mentality making games, so that whole process is still happening. So whereas films have been here since the early 1900s, so I mean, it's like, you know, it's still going to take time to figure that stuff out, but it's good now that I think that studios are taking that step towards mental health and helping people in the workplace.
No, that's really
good. Yeah. So I mean, apart from taking on these huge projects now, and of course the team ever expanding and growing, do you feel there's been a different approach to how you face pre-production now? I mean, maybe not as an artist, an art director, but do you think there's a way now that you pitch or do pre-production differently than you did when the studio first started?
Whoa, that's a good question. Our whole approach probably streamlined a lot in the past years, but it's. But I wouldn't say our approach is different, but it definitely got much more professional throughout these years and all the projects what we have been done, and we also, I think we also become much more flexible with the clients, what is really necessary in this industry.
Has this been a team as well that's solely focused on one particular type of pre-production as well? So environment, set design, characters, or are you kind of trying to encompass all of that? Are you trying to be able to be flexible in both those areas?
Yeah, we are trying to do like not everything. So we don't have like specialized people for all the tasks,
Right.
but we are trying to cover most of what a pre-production process can ask or something can demand.
Yeah.
We are mostly. I mean, we have been doing a lot of environment design and set design and set dressing designs. We have been doing a lot of costume designs, props.
Right.
Uh, we rarely do creatures because, and it's not because we don't want to, because some guys love to do creatures here in the team, but it's more like it's a relatively rare thing that a movie needs creatures, and they usually hire really specific people who has a matching style to the production.
Yeah, I was going to say because you guys worked on Witcher, the TV series, and that of course would have had its fair share of creatures, But was your role in that more set production, more kind of set design?
We just spent a brief period on Witcher. We did some stuff in the very early pre-production, and what you have done is basically we have done a bunch of experiments about developing the individual races of the Witcher's world.
Okay.
So like how the dwarves should look like, how the dryads should look like, and stuff like that. That was one part. We have done some early costume designs, and then we went back at the very end where we had to develop some FX concepts. So yeah. No, I lost your voice, so I can't hear you.
I'm here. Sorry. mutes occasionally. Because with Witcher, there would have been a lot of things to deal with that. Because, I mean, CD Projekt would have done so much, obviously, with the game, but the TV show obviously it's never really had a real life adaptation. So there was obviously a lot to figure out there. But were you drawing anything from the production on the game, or was the production studio wanting you to do that?
No, that was that was a specific request from the very beginning to stay away from the game art, and it's not because it's not good, but they wanted to base the whole visuals. They wanted to create unique visuals for the show, of course, and they wanted to base it more on the books and not on the game.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that these things can live separately anyway. So yeah, that probably was actually quite good, because then you're not, because the stuff obviously that CD Projekt done for the Witcher was incredible. So you didn't feel like you're competing on that level. You're making your own thing, your own path. So yeah, I mean, I think it's just trying to take snippets of like what you feels like your best work. But I mean, I know you guys obviously were involved also in Love, Death and Robots, which was a huge project, and I've never really got to talk to anybody on that side of it. Especially the guys at Axis. So for you, how much were you involved in that, and what was that experience like? Also,
it was an awesome project. We worked we worked on the secret war piece in Love, Death and Robots, where the Russians are going after the monsters. That one, what was produced by Digic Pictures. So we worked really really closely with them, and that was a really cool project because we had the chance to work really closely with the Digix team, and we came on the project pretty early on. So we did a lot of experiments about the environment and mood and weather, and we had the chance to also develop the creatures from the very early
stage
thumbnail sketches, starting with the thumbnail sketches to the finals. So
to the end result. Yeah, I mean, I think that whole project was definitely. I think at one point, there was memes going about on Facebook, and people were like, everybody's worked on it except me, because there's just so many people were working on those episodes and that whole thing. It was. I think for Netflix especially, it was something people weren't really expecting especially because a lot of it was animated CG. There wasn't a lot of real life actors, so it was an interesting take. But then that was such a huge project, and I think anybody who had an involvement in that, it definitely was. I was always said it's been a great experience, and they really loved it. So
actually, from the creative point of view, it was one of our best projects from the past years. years, because we got a lot of creative freedom on the design side from Digic, and that was really rewarding.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're taking something like that in Netflix, which is more TV based, and then you're working on something more like Rocket Man, again, I don't know the extent of work you've done on the film, but how, again, does that differ from TV and film? Is it just the production schedules? Is it the deadlines that are different, or the freedoms you have?
I think our work is I wouldn't say exactly the same, but it's really similar. Of course, it's a bit it's more that tasks are a bit different, because in Rocketman we have developed all the costumes for the show together with Julian Day, the costume designer, and so it was a really specific task that we had to recreate the original costumes. What was
or iconic looks,
just sometimes they were just partially documented in on a crappy backstage photo, and sometimes they're more popular, of course, and we had to recreate those. So that was it was different, but still a really interesting project, and I love the movie.
Yeah, well, no, me too. Yeah, I think the whole cast was great. The whole musical, like turning it into a musical as well, and not having just a kind of straight origin story. I thought it was a great take on it. And then again, it's funny when you watch these things. I didn't know a lot about Elton John's life, but watching what he had to go through, I was like, my God, like I think it was the same when I watched the Queen autobiography, or the Bohemian Rhapsody. It was the same. I knew so much about Freddie and the band, but then seeing the in-depth stuff, it was like, my God, the things they went through. So, I mean, like, again, more film stuff you've done, and then of course, like the Magic the Gathering stuff as well, which has also been huge. Like, is that just a project that came to you through Axis as well? Is that something they pitched to you originally before you worked on Zendikar?
Yeah, I mean, I came on board. So basically, what happened is we were talking about with Axis for a long time that we should do we should work together. We should do something together. I think I met John Beeston, the head of art, who is a
John. We all love John. John's the guy. He's the man.
He's a super nice guy, and I think I met him. I don't even know, like maybe 5 years ago.
IW 2016 was the first year I met him
at one of the THUs or something.
Okay,
and since then we kept in touch, and but sometimes when they needed somebody, I wasn't available, and when I was available and sending him stuff, they didn't need anybody. So it was just we were just waiting for the stars to be aligned, basically, and we started to, and they approached me to art direct the Zendikar Rising trailer, probably around this time last year, or maybe in January, or
right.
And then it's just sort of happened, because I just finished another bigger project here in Pixelate, so I decided to take that on, and then luckily it turned out to be a great work relation between us. So later, Gaspar, our other founder, also joined another project as assistant AD, and as a company, we also provided a lot of designs for other projects. So it was really good.
I was going to say, because it's different from maybe a lot of the key things you were working on previously, because you were the art director on the project. I mean, I don't know how much you can talk about, but what was the relationship like between you guys and Magic? Were they giving you quite a wide berth to kind of have your own vision of how they wanted it, or did they already have a vision in mind?
Well, I'm not sure how much I can say about the workflow and process. Basically, how it works is basically I think Wizards and Axis already has a long relationship between them. I mean, they are creating them the main cinematics for years, and so Axis and the actual directors basically pitching story ideas based on based on the new decks, and Wizards also pitching ideas internally, and from all these ideas, usually a story emerges, and that's what we are starting to keep working on and finessing out. So yeah, but there was a constant communication with the Wizard side. Usually we had 2 or 3 big client meetings where we went through all the stuff, what was created that week or what has been done, both on the story side and the art side.
Yeah, I mean, like, definitely, I think Wizards are like such a huge presence in the art side of the world. I mean, you're either working on a lot of the cinematics or game related world building stuff, or of course, for a lot of people, it's like the mecha people who actually get to make cards. I mean, like, I think they're definitely throwing work out left, right, and center, and they seem like
working for Wizards and for Magic was really like a bucket list thing for me. So it was really great that I can. I had the chance to work on these last two trailers, and like doing it not just from the illustration side, but also from the animation and sort of the movie side where I'm more coming from. That was really great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm forgetting now actually if you have, Mark, but have you ever done cards for Wizards? Have you ever done card illustrations?
No, I haven't done any Magic art. I have been doing some illustrations for AD&D.
Yeah. I knew you were working way back in the day for the Star Wars stuff you were doing. I forget the name of the company.
Fantasy Flight Games.
Fantasy Flight, yes, that was it. Yeah, so I take it as Magic, like the card wise, is that something that's still on your bucket list? Is something you would still like to do at one point?
I mean, I would love to work directly with Magic on the illustrations, but actually, what I'm much more interested in, or would be interested in, working with Magic on their art bibles, and what is basically, so they're always creating these art bibles even before the card illustrations, where they establish the whole, what is basically the world building part of what happens before each deck, where they establish all the creatures and all the environments for each world, for each plane, how they call it. So and that's really interesting, because that's where all the design part is.
I was going to say it's the world building stuff would probably be more interesting because it's something you've got a hand in just now, so you're doing a lot of that for production as well. So
I mean, I would still have to do illustrations as well. It's just that seemed much more just simply much more interesting for me, from the design point of view.
So you've done, I mean, there's definitely been your fair share of TV shows, and you've done a couple of films with the studio. But I did also know, because I'm a huge fan of Airship Syndicate, you worked on Dark Side of Genesis as well at one point with the guys at Airship. So was that a smaller project, or was that something you were involved in from the start as well? Or?
Actually, that was a smaller one, and that was also with Digic Pictures. So because how they approached us is they were producing that trailer for Darksiders, and they I think they already had the 3D animatic for the trailer. So what they asked us,
comes in and shoots the guys with the guns, like the big 3-headed monster thing.
Yeah. So and basically they approached us. Okay, we just have to establish the overall visual look for this whole thing. So we had to, because the concept art for the game was totally different, and it's in a more illustrative and a more graphical style, and we have to take that and translate it to a more cinematic universe, and that's what we did. So basically, we wanted to create the keyframes. Okay, this is a 3D animatic, but this is how it's going to look as a final.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially that whole world. I mean, I know that I'm a huge fan of Joe Madureira. I mean, I think his work for the last 10, 15 years has been just incredible. And I think, it's getting to touch on some of the stuff. Because, I mean, the game stuff, obviously, as well, I think it's still cinematic, but then it's... have you guys done much work within game production as well? Do you do any pre-production for games as well, or is it mostly just cinematics?
Mostly cinematics. From time to time, we are also creating like marketing art, and
Right.
sometimes we take part in the early pre-production. Like we have done some character development for some companies. Unfortunately, I can't talk about it much, but
Yeah.
we do stuff like that from time to time.
Yeah, yeah, because I did notice, actually, just randomly watching a trailer or watching a cinematic, that you done some work again with Digi. I think it was for Rainbow Six, right, for
Mm.
Ubisoft. So yeah, I mean, there definitely is. There's always work there because, I mean, as we well know, the way games sit now, like a lot of the cinematics or in-game stuff is now very lifelike. So
Yeah.
it's also blurring the lines between cinema and game.
Yeah,
So
that's where we probably came in because I mean we are more coming from the uh, live action side, but also creating concepts, and that's I mean that's sort of the world between worlds.
yeah, is that's a weird thing as well. Just as we're touching on kind of concept art in general, but do you feel, because the industry evolves so quickly, everything changes from one day to the next. There's a new program, there's a new tutorial, there's a new way of looking at things. And I know recently Clinton done a whole podcast with ArtStation about the future of environment art. But do you feel like talking on the future of concept or initial pre-production design, how do you think it's changed in the last couple of years as well, especially? Because I know for at one point, photo bashing in 3D was all the range, but what do you feel now is like your pipeline for stuff you do?
I mean, it really depends. We definitely use more and more 3D, in our workflow. But what we usually do is we are doing we're always doing daily deliveries, and it's probably coming from our live action work,
Mhm.
and uh, and sometimes, I mean, we are just trying to find tools and workflows, what can be. Uh,
I mean,
well,
do you
it's
feel
really
like,
hard to say
especially
that.
within your new stuff you're doing just now, do you feel you're still painting as much as you used to, or is there more? Is there more side of it because of the speed of the things you need to deliver? Do you feel like you're putting together stuff more with pre-made assets, kit bash, photos? Like, how much painting are you? Because I know one person, especially I spoke to recently, saying that like production is so different from when he used to do it. Like he doesn't paint at all now. Like he mostly just is using 3D and photo textures. Is that
Mhm.
kind of how you're doing your stuff now?
Uh, yes and no. I mean, it really depends on your approach. I think the most important thing is that your artwork should communicate your design ideas perfectly. And if you can communicate your ideas with pencils or with a speed paint,
Yeah.
that's also absolutely fine. Uh, but it definitely helps to sell the stuff what you're creating if they are more realistic, and uh, and 3D is getting more and more user friendly as
Mhm.
well, like with Blender and stuff like that. Or I used recently I used Adobe Medium, like VR sculpting, a lot for blocking in certain stuff, because like just the workflow is just so fluid and so fast that I can really quickly block in a few things what I can render out in Blender and paint over in Photoshop, and I can just get to a much more realistic result in a shorter time. But I think it's more because the decision makers are are becoming no, I don't want to say that. So more and more less artistic people getting
Mhm.
involved in the decision making, if you know what I mean. So more and more producers and more the
Mhm.
money people
Mhm.
are part uh, of making a decision. And if you're presenting to them, so if you're presenting to a production designer or an art director, he or she can understand what I'm talking about based on a pencil sketch or based on a speed painting or something.
Yeah.
But if you are presenting to a director or to a producer, he or she
Mhm.
is not going to understand what I'm trying to say with that basic drawing. So
Yeah.
just what I feel is, and that's a big change, that that your artworks has to be more and more presentable.
Yeah,
in a way.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting if we talk about VR as well. I mean, I just before Christmas here, I just managed to pick up one of the Oculus Quest 2s, the
I have
wireless
that
one.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got it sitting just next to me. But then, yeah, the VR side of it. I mean, that was what was fun for me. I mean, I remember Yama. I think it was one of the TH2s or something, or even the iMac. He had the original Quest 1, which was wireless, and he was bringing it out in a case and saying, try this. And he was using Medium at the time as well, or what maybe Gravity Sketch or one of the ones that was involved in it. But then it was blowing people's minds. They were like, there's no cameras, there's no wires, how do I use it? But it is becoming so more free. But then I remember Chris Rosenworth was doing a talk, and then he was talking to one of his production buddies as well. But I think about working on one of the James Bond films, about how they were using it to basically build the sets in VR and then put it on the director's head, and he could like literally walk about in the set, like, move that a bit left, move that a bit right. So I mean,
you can do the same thing. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the productions. Set builders using SketchUp because it's really easy to use, and it's a really easy to use CAD software. And you basically have the fly through mode in SketchUp, where you can just basically walk around the sets, and you can easily do that with a VR headset. And that's how they were testing. Like in the Alienist 2, they were testing all the sets out like that way.
Right. Yeah. I mean, definitely, I think it's going to be a thing where I've seen people even taking models, that they're making, and then putting them into Photoshop, or taking snapshots of them and then using them as basic design for building a set. Do you see that will be more of your, maybe not specifically Pixeloid, but do you think that will be something that will be used more in the future within pre-production for film?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Awesome. I mean, it's still a long way to go in terms of detail and quality, what you can produce with VR, but it's getting better every day, and so I think it's, how I see is like, at what I think the hardware is getting perfect for, getting really usable. In a production as well. So just in terms of, I don't get motion sick or anything. I'm experimenting with VR for quite some time. I remember buying like the first dev kit of Oculus, like, I don't
way
know,
back in the day,
8 years ago or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
8 or 10 years ago. And it came a long way since that, and now it's super nice. It's super comfortable. It's I don't get tired working in it, and just the softwares, all the sculpting softwares and modeling softwares are getting better and better with every release. So how I see it is it's like Photoshop in the early days, when you could already produce good stuff with it, but it's just needed certain features and
the extra push,
the extra push, but people are already using it in productions. I used VR to block in entire locations for both of the Magic trailers, for example, and like for the latest one for Kaldheim. So what I basically done is I blocked in a complete location and did a concept what got approved by the director, and with some minor changes, and also Wizards of the Coast, and then I could just pass the concept and the high-res model of the VR sculpt to the production team, and they just detailed it up to have the final location. So it's really
I was going to say, just to think how far it's come even in the last couple of years. Like I say, it's from Yama, showing us early on in one of the events, and then until, now it's like fully getting used in production. It's I think even to an extent, Blender was like that, where it had a couple of years back, even when I was in university still, people were talking about using it as a free alternative to Maya and Max. Now it's, there's so many, there's a few professionals who are using it readily, but then I think it's becoming so much more widespread. I know now there are several people I know who are working production in environment art and games, and they are using Blender in their day to day. And production has no issue with it. They're
No, I
kind of
also
like,
we also use Blender. I mean, I've experimented with a lot of 3D softwares, but never really got the hang of any of it. To be honest, I mean,
right,
I was using Modo. I was experimenting with Maya and Max
yeah,
and stuff like that. I mean, for sculpting, ZBrush is perfect, but for 3D modeling, I mean, I don't know. I just didn't get the hang of it. And with Blender, just in a few weeks of learning and trying to pushing myself, I could get to the level where I could create something. So I think just the base learning curve is just so short with Blender that it makes it really really user friendly.
yeah, which is powerful. I mean, I know when I spoke to, I think it was either Jose Vega or one of the guys, they were saying stuff like, every day you wake up, it's the best day to be a concept artist, because every single day there's something else out, there's some other course came online or some new skill. Miche, especially when we spoke to Miche, he was saying, having born out of Learn Squared and built that whole school, he has just seen how vastly different the field is. I mean, when I left my job in 2012, ArtStation wasn't even a thing, right? That wasn't even on the map. So, and now there's like 3 or 4 schools in my area. I know they're actually building one in Glasgow just now. Shit, I forget the name of the school, but they're down in London just now. They do private courses where you can pay a couple of thousand, and they Escape Studios, I think, is that the one that they're called. But then they're now forming one in Glasgow, and they were looking for people to teach. But yeah, like, so it's got to a point now where like there's going to be a school in my local area, and up until then it was only university. And even the courses they offered were very basic. So yeah, and now of course you've got guys like Darek Zabrowski, who has focal point across now in Poland, and you can literally walk into Darek's door and
Yeah,
ask him to teach.
Derek and Mika is awesome. I
Yeah.
love
Oh no,
those guys.
the whole thing they're doing is incredible. And Michal as well, like his stuff is incredible.
Yeah.
So,
but basically that's why they started their school as well, because what we were experiencing, they were no schools around. So basically,
yeah,
I mean, I also went to LA to learn at Concept Design Academy, and I had to go there because there weren't any schools in Europe, basically none,
yeah, yeah. And now,
and that wasn't that long ago. So,
yeah, I mean, even stuff like Brainstorm, for instance, because they now have a school that teaches you cutting edge stuff with industry artists who are teaching you, but then of course it's the fraction of the price. So compared to going to somewhere like Art Center where you're spending upwards of 100,000 a term, I think their courses start from like 3, 4, 5,000 for a single term. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely there's no excuse basically. There's no excuse not to learn stuff. There's so much online, and I mean it's difficult as well. I think, right, because this is the balance and something I want to get into with you as an artist, where it's something I've seen from an outside perspective. Because short backstory: when I started as an engineer, when I was hired, I didn't know how to fix a data point switch, rebuild a telephone. All that kind of stuff was taught to me when I joined. Like they gave me the job in the essence that I would learn, and I'd done my 3-year apprenticeship where I learned all that kind of stuff and then got into a position. But then that's kind of common in some industries I have seen, where like people are taken on as trainees knowing that they know either not anything at all or very little. Whereas guys who come in on the lower level or try to get in the lower level of games production, cinematics, the bar is quite high that you have to kind of pass before you'll even start to get work or start to get noticed by studios. Do you feel like that's something that is healthy for the industry, like having that bar higher, or do you think there should be room for people on maybe the lower end that who want to maybe get in the industry, but maybe don't quite have the skills yet, but want to learn and want to be part of it?
I mean, in one hand, it's good because it definitely raises the quality bar, the general quality bar of the industry. But it also makes the beginners really hard to get in. So, and I'm not sure how it works, but back in the days, I think they were much more like trainee sort of things, or like or getting a company just for a few months of work experience and stuff like that. And this is getting much rarer than before.
Yeah. I mean, we talked a kind of while back as well, where you were talking about one of the problems you had at the moment was that, you know, there was so many seniors who already had a buttload of work. You were finding it hard to find people to work sometimes because all the seniors had work, or they had jobs, or they had too much work. So you were trying to look towards maybe lower tier people who could maybe do the work as well. But then that was also hard because there wasn't as many of them. So you were obviously thinking at one point you might try and bring people in as well. But how for you also is that as a studio? Do you think there is also an inherent risk in bringing people in that are, you know, maybe substandard or aren't quite at the bar yet? Do you think
actually, we tried it in the past years a few times, and it didn't work out because we just felt. But it's probably because we are a small studio, and so if we take on under, not sure how to say it properly, but like let's call it undertrained people, then we not just have to put in. So I can't put them onto actual running real projects. If I put them onto real projects, because we are doing daily deliveries, there is always a risk that they can't deliver to the quality what we expect from ourselves. So that means me or another senior has to stay in overtime to actually finish that work for the client that day. So there is a double risk, plus it takes extra time away. So it's not giving us more potential as a company, but more taking away time from the seniors who has to train them and stuff like that. So it's it's a difficult thing, but I still think it should be room for beginners as well, because what some of the companies are expecting from beginners are pretty insane. I mean, you have to know 3D, you have to know all the software, you have to sculpt, you have to know modeling, but you have
no
to
UI fundamentals. Yeah, there's so much. Yeah,
so much stuff, and I'm pretty sure nobody would hire me. Like, I mean, seriously, if I would start out now, I'm just thinking back where my skills were when I was starting out, and I don't think anybody would hire me. So it's
difficult, I think. Yeah, I was going to say just quickly, I think what's hard as well is within your industry specifically, because you're dealing at like almost the tip. Well, you're at the top. I mean, you're talking like TV production, film production, AAA films, AAA TV. So if that's your entry level, then that will be hard to hit straight out of school. But then if you're working on like an indie dev title, a small mobile game, you know, a book illustration, like that's probably the barrier entry.
I mean, the competition is much bigger now. That's for sure. But the industry are, I don't know, not doubled, but like, you know, it's like
quadrupled
or even more. So
I mean, we were talking about this just before we started recording as well, but of course, and something I want to obviously spend more time on talking about the recent passing of Mike Nash, and how the industry kind of ate him up and chewed him out basically the same way. I think there needs to be some kind of recognition of like how quickly things are moving and how maybe at some points we need to slow down. I mean, you talked about it yourself, right? How you took so many projects on at one point, you lost a client to it. So you know yourself, there's this point where you want to take work on constantly because you don't want to say no to stuff, but then you have to also think about like, do I physically have the same amount of time? That, you know, am I going to be able to deliver the same quality? And when you're chasing work like that, I mean, it is kind of like feast or famine in this industry. And I think, especially for freelancers, like God only knows how a lot of those guys survive from project to project. It's got to be difficult. People who have a 9 to 5 in a game studio or something else, I'm not saying it's easier, but you know, at least you know they're having to pitch for work. You know the work is coming to you. You have work to do. But then, like, it's difficult, man. And a concept, especially, I think, is one of those concept and character work seem to be a race to the bottom. There's so many people now who can do it cheaper, faster. I mean, we talked about that with CMIC. He's coming on soon, but he talked about, you know, the Chinese market, which people are sleeping on, where studios are pushing out work vast beyond, you know, people are leaving school at like such a high level and charging, you know, rates that Westerners will never come close to. So It is a difficult industry. I mean, I don't know if you can talk on that even briefly, but is that something you're noticing in the industry, just the speed of which it's accelerating?
Uh,
I mean, how do you feel even as an art director for a studio? Do you feel like you guys struggle to keep up sometimes, or do you feel like there's enough work? Or, I mean, generally your mental health, how do you feel about, I mean, it's a lot to unpack. It's a big question, but I'm just wondering in general how you feel about the whole thing. About, like, do you feel like the industry is maybe going too fast, like it's expanding too quickly?
well, I don't know. That's really hard. That's really hard to tell because I mean, a lot of things happening in the same time. So especially from the live action side, there are all the streaming services around. I mean, there was a huge boom in the streaming services in the past like 3-4 years.
Oh yeah,
So just what I feel is there is just more and more demand on content, on creating content, and this both goes for live action and games and everything else. What we create art for. So I think it's a really really exciting time for us, and if you can keep the quality bar what we expect from ourselves, because there's always the danger that with more stuff the quality bar is going to go down, and it's just going to be like a lot of content what needs a lot of art, but we just have to keep producing this in a faster rate. And
yeah,
so but I think if you can focus on really on quality, then it should be fine.
yeah. I mean, definitely, I feel like, again, things I hear from students as well is that, you know, I need, like you said earlier, I need to learn Blender, I need to learn this, I need to learn that. And I've always said, I mean, especially if you're doing 2D concept, like, if your foundational drawing skills can be good, then a lot of this stuff will come as you work in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, you can teach people a bit of Blender, you can teach them about 3D production, but physically teaching somebody how to draw well is something you can't really spend a lot of time on. You know, that almost has to be something they have to do on their own. It's the same as sculpting. I mean, I know Raf talked about it ages ago, where he would rather hire somebody who was an excellent sculptor, but maybe didn't know substance paint or you know, retopologizing.
Those are just tools. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Yes,
you can pick them up. You can pick up those skills pretty easily. Really, I mean, honestly, anyone can learn a software.
yeah,
It just takes time. So if you put in the
yeah,
time, you're gonna learn how to use the
yeah,
tools.
yeah.
But
The foundation stuff is the most important.
yeah, learning the foundations, drawing, sculpting, color theory, composition. That's really really hard to teach that if somebody doesn't have the base knowledge.
The drawing skills, yeah. I mean, you say that, I mean, your book, which of course now there's a second edition out, you've got your new book out as well. But in your first book, you did talk about how you always walked about with a sketchbook. And I mean, maybe not as much these days, but like when you were learning, like you always had a sketchbook with you. You were always drawing, always sitting down, taking notes and stuff like that. I mean, that's got to be one of the key things for students now, especially, right? It's
Yeah,
just like you
absolutely.
should live with your sketchbook. Yeah. Life drawing classes, you know, environmental stuff, urban sketching, creature, go to the
I mean,
zoo.
we are still trying to do that even now in house. I mean, we are trying to encourage people to do figure studies, photo studies. Now we are just starting to
Right.
organize a live drawing class in the
Okay.
studio. So bringing in
Yeah.
models to
Uh-huh.
do like live drawing sessions every 2 weeks. Because I think those are just the core skills what you need, and you can always learn more. There's always room for evolving, and
100%.
yeah.
Yeah. I think even the other day I was watching a stream by Jim Lee, and he was saying about how he was struggling. It's like, I struggle with this part of the hand, and you're saying to yourself, the guy's been drawing figures for 50 years or something like that. Like, if he's still struggling, like, there's room for improvement in anybody that's starting. So yeah, especially when I think for students, I found as well, anatomy is one thing that they struggle with because it is such a dense topic. There's so much to
Mhm.
learn. But then there's also, like we talked about earlier, there's so many good schools. Even, you know, guys like Stan Prokopenko, like, you know, Proko has a whole YouTube channel for free that you can sit in there for a couple of hours and just consume his content, and has very great topics on anatomy, shading, perspective,
Mm.
loads of stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's a balance, right? It's the whole conversation is a balance where the bar is very high to get in, but there's so much available information that it's no impossible.
Yeah.
It's no like you're never going to get there. Like if you do the work, you will eventually
absolutely
hit a level where you'll go.
I totally agree. It's just a matter of time, and
and you don't have to be the best person in the world at what you do. There's a bar where if you're good enough, you will eventually get work.
People also. I see a lot of people who don't dare to put together a portfolio and apply to a company or put their work out there because they think they are not good enough. There is no such thing as not good enough. There always be a lot of better artists than you, but there always be a lot of worse. So
I mean, I think it's what even people who are like, they'll watch like a Kim Jong-ji stream and be like, never. I'm like, well, Kim's doing his thing. Like, he's got his own thing going on there. You don't have to be Kim to get work. Like, it's so like there's superstars like Kim, and there's TB Choi now, of course, who's burning up and doing this incredible. But then that's their own thing. You don't have to emulate that person.
And I'm just saying this to beginners and to students, because a lot of people are battling with artist blocks, and they think like professionals and other like really good artists don't have artist blocks, and that's not true. We still have artist blocks, and I think we artists we struggle with the same things as a student or as a beginner. We still feel, even I feel sometimes that I'm down. I'm not good enough. I'm not creating the stuff what I would like to, and you have to. I think students has to understand that this is part of this whole thing. This is part of this journey that you always have to overcome your anxiety and fears and everything, and that's absolutely normal.
Yeah, I mean, like Carl Ortiz talked about it in one of our talks at THU, where like our first day at ILM, Ian McKay got into the elevator and he was like, what a day, and and she was like, what's wrong? He's like, I just can't figure this thing out. And she's saying to herself, well, if he's having a bad day where he's stuck, like, I mean, I'm going to be okay then. So I mean, when it is the case, like Ian even talked about that further on, and he was like, oh yeah, that was something I couldn't figure out. But yeah, it is a case where like you all the years experience you'll have, every new project you come to, you'll sit with a blank piece of paper in front of you and be like, cool, what do I draw? Like, how do I start? What do I work on? How is this going to look? But then it falls into like the repetitions because you've done it so much. So it's like, research, pre-sketches, thinking about, montages and collages and stuff, and then generating ideas and what if this, and then I think that's the thing you've not got to lose as well is the play, right? Is the idea that like, what if you had this massive big horn and this was cool, and it's getting to that level is still something you need within even professional work, because you have to make something out of nothing. You can't do that by being super serious, like, okay, well, I need to get 3D rendering. No, just like sit with your sketchbook, and that's why sketchbooks are important as well, because it is a place to fail and experiment and try things before you sit and hand them to people or hand them to directors. So I think there's definitely an emphasis on the industry can be scary and cold, but then I think it's just you've kind of just got to be prepared for that and try and build a skin where you understand that's what you're walking into, and it's not always going to be bad, but there will be bad days, there will be things you kind of figure out, but everybody's like that, and you're not alone in that instance. Like, we all go through it.
Yeah, plus people have to see, because like you said, that the industries can be really scary, and companies and stuff like that, but actually it's not true. I think this industry is filled with genuinely nice and friendly people, and that's really rare. I mean, I've worked a lot for advertising agencies as well, and that's a totally different story. So and I mean, I think all the artists are genuinely friendly, and everyone would like to help, and so students don't be afraid to reach out to anyone, and he might not gonna answer but it's not because he doesn't want to or you are not good enough. It's because he's busy.
Yeah, of course.
But that's it. But And actually, that's why I really did like more the social gatherings, like
I was just
industry
going to say,
workshops and stuff like that.
yeah,
What we missed out last year,
yep,
because that's there you can meet these people
yeah.
and just have a beer with someone, show your portfolio and stuff like that. But people are genuinely nice and friendly and approachable, and everyone is. So of course there's a big uh, competition in the art field,
Mm.
but it's not like on any other fields. I mean, in this one, everyone and all the professionals are trying to help you to get better, because we are in the same shoes. We just really love to do this thing, and we also would like to get better, and we still remember that how it was like when we started out.
When you started, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think a good note to end on, Mark. I think that's definitely, you've kind of put it into the words I was trying to say. But yeah, events, networking, going to these things like THU industry workshops, IMAG.
Yeah, I hope we can return back after this whole COVID
Yeah,
situation, because this is getting pretty
yeah.
pretty crazy now.
I know, I know. Well, not even that. Like, it's just to get outside in your own vicinity. Like, I don't know again how hungry is, but in Scotland we're in the tier 4 lockdown, so the highest level. So we're not really supposed to leave our houses, and we can't travel between like even like our small districts. So
Hmm.
we're stuck in our towns, and it's hard. It really is getting harder. And then people were telling me now, like I think I was told I would get a vaccine letter by August, if that means anything, and that's my first jab. So I mean, like, if
Whoa.
that's, it's like it looks like this year as well is going to be just taken up by lockdown, which is scary, but it's the world we're living in just now. And so, how is Hungary anyway? Just generally with the pandemic.
Uh, it's not that bad actually. I think like we had this like second phase, and that's just over. But they don't want to open up, even if the cases dropped, because they
Right.
say now is the safest thing is to keep this. So we are not in like a full lockdown, but more like a partial one. So
Yeah.
most of the people are working from home, but and you can't leave your house between, I think, 8 at night and 5 or 6 in the morning.
There's a curfew. Yeah, yeah. I know
Yeah,
Holland recently done the similar thing. So,
yeah, but
which
and
makes
you
sense.
have to wear masks and everything, and of course,
Yeah, of
like
course.
like uh, like social places like restaurants. So you
Mm-hmm.
can only get stuff for takeaway,
Takeaway and stuff. Yeah.
and of course, like theaters and cinemas are closed, and
Yeah.
venues are
I mean, it's going to
closed.
be
But
interesting. Yeah, I was going to
but
say, even like
yeah,
you having a kid as well, it's going to be difficult with, because he'll want to go out all the time and play and stuff like that.
yeah,
So, and that's
yeah.
going to
But
be hard
but the
as
funny
well.
thing is, like primary schools and childcares are open.
Right.
So
Yeah.
because it's and they are trying to keep that. I mean, you have to wear masks and everything, even primary
Mhm.
schools, and
Yeah.
they are measuring your temperature, or your kid's temperature when you go into the childcare and stuff like that. But they still can go, and people are going to work and stuff like that. So it's like this weird partial thing, but it seems to sort of work.
Be working. Yeah. I mean, it's difficult with the UK as well because we just passed 100,000 deaths, which is crazy. So, like, I know it's mental. And now, they're talking about, like, oh, they might start to ease restrictions. But then, of course, Scotland, Wales, and Ireland are all like, well, no, because people are still sick and people are still getting infected. So let's not do that. But of course,
Mm.
Mr. Johnson's like, oh, no, it'll be fine. We'll open up partially in a couple of weeks. I'm like, oh, God. It just seems like it's never ending. But I'm hoping, because our we're obviously quite high just now. I think we've got something like nearly 20 million people have been vaccinated. So
Well,
it's
that's pretty
looking like,
good. Yeah.
yeah, if we can get everybody inoculated at one point, I think that will obviously help stop it as well, because then that obviously
Yeah.
stops the risk of infection. And so, yeah, but it's a weird world to live in right now. So,
Mm.
oh
No,
God,
definitely is.
I hope it ends. And not even that, I want to go back to Lightbox and stuff as well. That would be great to go across to America again. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. But anyway, Mark, thank you for your time.
No, thanks for the chat. It was really cool.
Yeah, man, awesome. Good to catch up after a couple of years, and I'll call back when your kid turns 6, when he's older again. So yeah, definitely. But yeah, I mean, thanks again, yeah, for coming on, and I hope you guys at Pixeloid and stuff are doing well, and the work you're doing is incredible. So I hope that just continues as the year goes on, and yeah, if you guys have any questions for Mark or anything, you can check out his website. I'll leave all his links below in the description. I'll also leave a link to his book, Behind the Pixels, which is really great. It's a good book if you are a beginner and you want to learn a lot of Mark's secrets. He basically spent a whole lot of time putting all of his information in his head into a book about how to be a concept artist. So,
well, I don't think it's available now, though, because I ran
the
out
first
of
one. Yeah, so you did release a second one, right? Like there's a Behind the Pixels 2. Is that
it wasn't. It was planned to release, but then it didn't. I think it didn't happen. No, it didn't happen. So it was just
I know.
Just the first
remember
vision.
you were talking about at one point. Yeah, you were talking about something doing a sequel at one point, but yeah, I didn't know if it. But then, if you can get a hold of it, because there might even be some circulation on Amazon. Something might be reselling it. But
I think you can. I think you can still get it on. You can still get a digital copy. So you still
the
still
PDF,
get a PDF.
I was going to say, yeah, you can buy it. That's on your website, right? The digital copy of that.
Yeah.
So then I'll link that.
Or maybe you can download it from my Gumroad or something.
Yeah, I'll definitely whatever.
Or you can just torrent it.
Yeah. Fuck it.
I'm also fine with that.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, if whatever link I get for the book, I'll send the official link and you guys can make it remind. But it's definitely worth it. I think it's not much on your website, right? It's like, was it $20 or something or something like that? Or I can't remember how much it is.
I don't really remember. I actually I was
That's how long ago
I was thinking about putting it up onto ArtStation, the ArtStation marketplace for
right.
Just for download, a digital copy for like, I don't know, $15 or something.
Right.
Because I don't.
Well, yeah, of course. Well, by the time I get this edited anyway, Mark will send me the link, and then if you guys want to go and purchase that, I would definitely recommend it wherever you get it, because it's a great book, and definitely is like a bible of how to be a concept artist. So if you're struggling about like where do I start, then Mark's book is. And of course, Mark didn't just write it on his own. There's other people who have came in and done articles for him that are also concept artists who also speak about the process. So it's a great book to have. And yeah, if you have any questions, yeah, you can also get in contact with Mark. He's always happy to talk to people. So yeah, loads of things. So and thanks to you guys who have listened so far. Again, with the format of the video, if you guys are enjoying it, let me know. Leave comments below. We also have a Discord. It's in the links below as well if you guys want to join. I think we're nearly 200 members just now. People are in there sharing work, talking away. So if you guys want to join that, that's there as well. And yeah, just again, thanks to you, thanks to Mark, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.
Cheers, guys.
Bye, everybody.